This episode of Lunduk Show is brought to you in part by System 76, makers of some of the finest Linux-powered laptops and desktops on this planet Earth. You can find out more at system76.com and Pogo Linux. Want a big server? Want it powered by Linux? Want some of the coolest storage boxes and 1U, 2U, 4U, and etc. U racks in the world? Find out more over at pogolinux.com. And of course, Lulzbot, makers of the most adorable 3D printer this side of the Mississippi. Today is an intense topic. An intense topic that many of you probably saw coming. We're going to talk about Mozilla. We have to talk about Mozilla. Over the last, I don't know how many months and years, it seems like I've been kind of hard on Mozilla. They make some cool stuff, no doubt about it, but they've also made some pretty egregious missteps. To a very intense degree, and I've spoken out about them without mincing any words. And I've gotten a lot of flack for doing so over the last several months from people who just simply feel that I should not be speaking out about bad things that Mozilla does. It seems like perhaps this has finally come to a head. Perhaps Mozilla has finally gone one bridge too far here, and well, people's patience with the company is breaking down rather quickly. But what I wanted to do today was not to necessarily dwell on the events of the last week. We'll touch on it briefly, but to talk about an overall pattern here, what that pattern means, and how to fix it. Not so much to sit around here and dwell on what's so bad about Mozilla, but how do we fix this organization, this company that really is an important one within our industry and to us as web users? So what do we do to fix it? What positive, proactive steps can we and Mozilla take to fix the clear underlying problem? So we're gonna dive into that. And I want to say flat out right at the beginning of this, in case it's not already abundantly clear, my opinions are my own. No one tells me what to say or what not to say on this show, and my opinions do not directly reflect those of the sponsors of the show or of the many supporters over at Patreon. A bunch of you support this show and make this financially possible for me to do, but this does not, I'm not speaking for you. This is I may say things that you agree with, I may say things you disagree with, but I do not hold it against anyone else if you don't like some of the things I'm about to say, is what I'm saying here. These are just simply good people that like to support free and open source software and open source hardware and shows that talk about them. So let's dive into this. The core of my argument, dissertation, is that Mozilla is simply not a trustworthy entity at this point. Not at all. And let's go through exactly why I think that. To start with, it's not trustworthy from two very important aspects. Mozilla is neither trustworthy from our standpoint as an end user of their products, of their services, nor is it trustworthy as a business partner for those businesses that have an existing or potential future business relationship with Mozilla. They've proven themselves to not be trustworthy. That is a major concern. And this is not just problematic, this is damned inconvenient. The reality is, we want Mozilla to be great. It should be great. And at times it has been great, and it does great things. So when these issues arise, this causes a significant problem for all of us, not just people who do business with the company, not just people who work for it, not just people who want to use their web browser, but for all of us on the web, this is a big problem. And let's be clear, this is not that Mozilla is all bad or all evil. In fact, if they were all bad and all evil and made crummy products, this would be easy to ignore. We could just simply say, whatever, we just won't use their product ever again and we'll ignore them and then they'll just disappear quietly into the night. But that's not the issue. The reality is their core product, that of the Firefox web browser, is powerful and excellent. And it is improved significantly just in recent days with the release of Firefox Quantum. It got faster. problems were introduced in the browser that made many existing users very unhappy. But the reality is they have put significant engineering time into making their browser as high quality as possible. And we appreciate that. And there's other things they do as well. They've also done a lot to advance both open source and free software and privacy causes, bringing attention to a great many issues that are fundamental and important to all of us as free software users, as privacy advocates, and as simply as human beings that use computers. These guys have done a lot of good in the world. And that is why the issues we're talking about now are so fundamentally distressing. They're not trustworthy. Flat out not trustworthy. It doesn't matter that they've done so many good things. They simply can't be trusted at this point. So this may be an extreme stance. This really may be. You may view it and go, Brian, you shouldn't say that. Why? I trust Firefox. I trust Mozilla. Well, the facts are very well documented. It is a pattern, a recurring pattern, especially in recent months and years, of specific issues where Mozilla has proven themselves to not be trustworthy. This is not an opinion on my part. I guess my opinion is that they're not trustworthy based on these facts, but the facts themselves paint that picture rather distinctly and rather clearly. So let's dive into that. The first thing that we have to really note is that Mozilla is a corporation. Firefox is developed by Mozilla Corporation, not a foundation, not a non-profit entity. Now, the way this works, Mozilla Corporation is owned by Mozilla Foundation. The Mozilla Foundation is non-profit. Whatever that means, because they bring in a huge amount of money, which we'll get into in a second. But Mozilla Corporation, which handles and oversees the development of Firefox, according to Mozilla and according to Wikipedia and according to everything that you can find on the internet, is a for-profit corporation. That is really important to note. This is not a charity. They are not a charity. In fact, Mozilla Corporation not only is a for-profit, but in the last year, according to the numbers I've seen, they brought in over $500 million. Over $500 million. Now, this does not make them untrustworthy. This makes them a for-profit megacorp. They have over 1,000 employees globally. They are a global megacorporation that brings in over $500 million a year. And they do so, in my opinion, in very shady ways. This is something we need to bear in mind when we're looking at Mozilla. It's not a charity. They are a for-profit corporation that acts like a for-profit corporation. That is critical to remember. Now, to touch on the events of the last week, they showed that if you are willing to pay Mozilla Corporation enough money, that Mozilla will install Firefox extensions that modify your web pages that you see, all of them, by injecting code without telling you about it. This happened just this last week. If you haven't already heard the news, the basic gist of it is this. The TV show Mr. Robot partnered up with Mozilla. Mozilla created and developed and distributed without our knowledge, without our permission, and forcibly installed an extension into our web browsers that added in advertisements for Mr. Robot on every web page you go to. Which is, one, a real jerk move, and two, distinctly violates the trust that we as users place in Mozilla. They did that. So they proved, unequivocally, that if they are paid enough money, they will screw over their users in any way, shape, or form they damn well please. That's not cool. That's not cool. Not cool at all. They also proved that if Mozilla has a financial interest, that Mozilla will collect or help collect for others data on you without your consent or knowledge. They did this recently. They put a financial investment into a company called Clicks, with a Q and a Z, because they spelled it neat, to spy on, as a test pilot project, users in Germany. So a percentage of Firefox users in Germany, without their knowledge, were getting spied on by Mozilla and Clicks, a company that Mozilla invested in. Remember, Mozilla is a for-profit corporation making over $500 million a year. And they're making financial investments into malware and spyware companies, partnering with them and embedding their software in such a way as to spy on you without your knowledge or consent. Cool. So they're willing to sell you out, sell out your user experience, and sell out your privacy, and sell out your security, and sell out your open web experience if they feel like they're going to make money at it. That's proven. That's not my opinion. I may phrase it in such a way that betrays my annoyance at them because I am annoyed, but it is still a fact. Nothing I have said is not true at this point. They've also proven that if Mozilla has a financial interest, that Mozilla will actively work to restrict the content you can access via DRM, via digital rights management systems. Case in point, Mozilla, within the World Wide Web Consortium, at the behest of Google, Netflix, and Microsoft, published the Encrypted Media Extensions specification. This was a standardized way of deploying DRM solutions across the web. Closed source DRM solutions. Before this was even standardized, before it was really even finalized, years before it was finalized, Mozilla jumped on it and said, hell yes, and implemented it within Firefox and released it as quickly as they could. Now, some people within Firefox dissented that maybe they shouldn't have done that, or have stated that they did so begrudgingly. They didn't want to implement DRM, but they just had to. They just had to. Otherwise, other browsers would implement DRM, and then Firefox would lose browser market share, and Mozilla would lose money. It's all about money, because Mozilla is a for-profit corporation earning over $500 million a year, with over 1,000 employees globally. And they need to keep the money rolling in. That is why they did this. And if I'm wrong on that, if you did that because of some love for freedom and free software, feel free to contact me, Mozilla. I've contacted you many times over many issues, and you've ignored me every single time. So feel free to contact me and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Now, what is the point of DRM? The point of DRM is to restrict your access to content based on a set of criteria. And I speak fairly knowledgeably on this because I worked at Microsoft about, 17, 18 years ago during Microsoft's first implementation of DRM. I left the company when I got moved into that organization because I didn't like it. But the point of it is that it restricts your access to content either based on your ability to pay for it, or your age, or your location, or the language you speak, or the software that you're running, or the hardware that you use. Something about you means that you don't get to access this content. That's what DRM is for. Now, you can say that it's good, or you can say that it's bad, but it's anti the open web, to be sure. And Mozilla jumped on it as fast as they could. If you have a business deal with Mozilla, Mozilla finds any way possible to force you to pay for that business deal, your end of that business deal, without them needing to fulfill their end of the business deal. Case in point, Mozilla struck a deal with Yahoo to make Yahoo the default search engine within Firefox. Mozilla, which is run by lawyers, the head of Mozilla is a lawyer, a very well-established, long practicing lawyer, managed to work into their contract with Yahoo a clause which allowed them to basically force this to occur, forced Yahoo to continue paying Firefox, paying Mozilla, the developers of Firefox, even though Firefox did not have to include Yahoo as the default search engine anymore. The clause was something like, if your parent company gets sold off to another company, you still have to pay us, but we don't have to fulfill our end of the bargain. You can like Yahoo or the company they got sold to, or you can hate them. It doesn't really matter in this case. What Mozilla proved here is that they will work very, very hard, and perhaps very smartly, if you want to place it like that, to make sure that they don't need to fulfill their end of a bargain, but will demand that the other side do so. That's shady, and that's not nice. Here's the things I live by. I live by a credo, and this may seem silly to some, that everyone should be excellent to each other. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure taught me that. And part of being excellent to each other is we don't actively try to screw each other over. Mozilla, by placing this clause in there and enforcing it, actively sought to screw over another company. You could say, well, Yahoo had it coming, but that doesn't make what Mozilla did nice. Not nice at all. Certainly not excellent to each other. And it definitely, if I was looking at being a business partner with Mozilla, well, I'd read those contracts fine print a whole lot more carefully now, knowing how Mozilla handles their business relationships in the future. If you have a political stance that Mozilla doesn't like, Mozilla will fund organizations that specifically exclude and block you. Case in point, Mozilla gave $100,000 to an organization called Rise Up. Now, Rise Up does many good things. Rise Up provides email and communication services to many people who otherwise wouldn't have access to it. Secure services that many political dissidents in many countries across the globe really need access to. So, Rise Up does some good things. Rise Up also has a stance. If you don't agree with Rise Up politically, you will be not allowed to join, and if they find out that you are not agreeing with them politically, you will be blocked from using their service. So political dissidents are allowed to use Rise Up if those political dissidents agree with Rise Up. If you disagree with Rise Up, you will be blocked from their service. In fact, it is an invite-only service. It's basically a country club that restricts access to people based on political viewpoints. I like secure communication services. I like services that help people across the globe. I like these things. Rise Up isn't all bad. However, it is an exclusionary organization. Whether you like them or dislike them, it doesn't matter. They're still an exclusionary organization. And Mozilla funds them. Mozilla funds them. If you have a political stance that Mozilla doesn't like, Mozilla will actively find ways to censor you. In fact, Mozilla has programs in place right now where they're working to automatically and not automatically censor news and filter things that you might be able to read online so that it filters out the fake stuff. They're seeking to censor. They're seeking to control the media, to control what you can and can't read online, not just through the DRM that they're implementing in their web browser, not just by funding organizations that specifically exclude maybe you, maybe not you, maybe your neighbor, maybe your friend, maybe your dad, someone in your life there's excluded almost assuredly. And Mozilla is putting that funding directly to work with that. Part of that war chest of over $500 million they bring in every year, which is damned scary. In short, they spy on you without your consent. That's a fact. They install software on your computer that you do not want, with whether you want it or not, and without telling you and without your previous consent. That is a fact. And none of this is deniable. They encourage and promote actively DRM. They fund DRM solutions. They implement DRM solutions. That is a fact. They fund exclusionary organizations. That's a fact. And they fund censorship projects. And that's a fact. None of those are debatable. You can debate whether or not they're good or bad, but those are facts. They just are. Now, while they've made $500 million last year, they still seek donations. In fact, if you go to Mozilla's website right now, it says right up at the top, it takes up the top friggin' third of the web page. We all love the web. Join Mozilla in defending it. Let's protect the world's largest public resource for future generations. A few times a year, Mozilla asks for donations. Chip in to help us keep the web healthy, wonderful, and welcoming to all. You want to do a monthly donation? You can set up something recurring. Do a one-time donation of 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks, whatever you want. They take your money as a donation. They put it to use specifically to censor you, other people, to do things that violate your trust. And then they take significant amounts of money, hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases, from other companies, screw them over, and then turn around and in other cases, screw you over. None of that's debatable. None of it. I asked Mozilla for comment on this. They didn't even reply with a, we'll think about it. They never do. They never do. This is from Mozilla's mission statement. In fact, this is the top of Mozilla's mission statement. Our mission is to ensure the internet is a global public resource, open and accessible to all. An internet that truly puts people first, where individuals can shape their own experience and are empowered, safe, and independent. I love that mission statement. It's beautiful. I agree with it wholeheartedly, and I'm pretty sure most of you do too. Mozilla doesn't act on that mission statement. Certainly, it acts specifically to violate that mission statement repeatedly multiple times this year. It's been ridiculous. They also have a list of like their, what was the word that they called it? They're like, not their priorities, their values. They were their value list. And here's a couple of them that I found interesting. These specific headlining values. They've got like a nest of 9 or 10 or whatever. The internet is a global public resource and must remain open and accessible. Well, they implement DRM to make sure it's not open and not accessible. They specifically spy on you if they have a financial interest to do so. They specifically install software on your machine without you knowing about it that changes the contents of web pages. They just did that this last week. They violated this. Another one, individuals' security and privacy on the internet are fundamental and must not be treated as optional. Of course, except when Mozilla earns a profit from it, such as in the instance of clicks, or in the instance of this last week, installing extensions that inject a whole bunch of JavaScript and CSS code that you didn't agree to. This is ridiculous. They continue. Individuals must have the ability to shape the internet and their own experiences on it. Well, no, they don't. Not according to you, Mozilla. You are actively funding systems that make sure that people don't have the right to shape the internet and their own experiences on it. You are telling them what their experience is going to be. You alter their web pages to be what you want it to be, to advertise whoever pays you the most money. You censor people. Come on, Mozilla. What does this mean? Transparent community-based processes promote participation, accountability, and trust. Well, none of these decisions were made in a transparent community-based process. Were you transparent and community-based when you asked us if you wanted us to implement DRM across all your browsers? No, you didn't ask us. You just did it. Were you transparent and community-based? Promoting participation, accountability, and trust when you took money from an advertising firm to inject CSS and JavaScript and an extension that forcibly installed itself across your browsers? No, you just did it. Was this transparent and community-based when you started spying on your users with clicks? Nope, You just decided to do it because you thought there was money in it. So, clearly I'm less than pleased. And I think a lot of you are in the same boat as me. But being pissed off at Mozilla because they've screwed up a ton doesn't get us anywhere. What do we do? What do we do? How do we move forward? How do we move forward in a productive way? It's not an easy thing. These aren't little problems. These aren't little issues that have just cropped up, little whoops-a-daisy accidents. These are big, systemic, repeating patterns of abuses of their users and their business partners over and over again. So what do we do? How do we fix this? Well, first we have to figure out where the blame lies. And playing the blame game is never fun, but the reality is if you're a gigantic $500 million a year mega corporation, the blame is with the management. This is not the engineers or the volunteers that volunteer their time because they believe in the Mozilla mission statement like I believe in the Mozilla mission statement. This is not the engineers' fault. This is not the volunteers' fault. This is the fault of the managers. Clearly, this is where it lies. Specifically, the top-level management. The executives are to blame here. They just are. Assuming the executives knew about it, that's where the blame flies. So I believe the only way, and there is only one way out of this, is that every board member and every executive of Mozilla that had any knowledge of any of the stated issues that we've talked about today should be immediately fired. Gone. They should resign if they have morals, if they have ethical beliefs in how a company should be run. If they believe in any of the mission statements or values that are listed on their website, they should resign. If there's a way to fire them, they should be fired. All of them. Everything. And yeah, that's hard. You get rid of all of them, it's hard to fill that leadership vacuum. But a leadership vacuum is better than what we have now. All projects that are contrary to Mozilla's core mission should be immediately defunded and removed from all Mozilla products and projects. This includes anything that has anything to do with censorship or DRM. Immediately. Gone. Anything else means you can't trust Mozilla. Anything else means it's business as usual for this $500 million a year megacorp. But if those two actions are taken, well, that changes things. Keep the engineers. Keep those working to make the web a more free and open place. And that may include some of the executives. If there are executives within the organization that truly and honestly can say, I didn't know this was happening and it disgusts me. Or I knew it was happening, but I fought against it and it was overruled. Like if there's a manager inside Mozilla right now, and a little birdie tells me there is, those individuals should stay. If the manager was fighting against these horrible abuses of trust, those managers should stay. Those managers should be promoted. Those managers should be the new executives. Because those are the people we can trust. The people that put their jobs on the line, that put their necks on the line to make sure that the web is a more free and open place, that Mozilla's core mission statement and their values are upheld, because honestly, those are good. If you read through Mozilla's website and read through the about them for their organization, read through their mission statements, it's good stuff, guys. If there's managers in there, or even just, dev leads and high-level marketing folks, etc., that believe in these things, and we're fighting to make sure that these horrible abuses of trust would not be committed, those people should be promoted. Those people should be praised. Those people should be given a friggin' medal. Because that's brave. And those are the kind of people that we want defending a free and open web. Once this is done, Mozilla will have re-earned our trust. And even more importantly than that, our respect. Because as it stands right now, I do not either trust Mozilla or respect Mozilla. And that's a big change. There was once a time when Mozilla really meant something. It was a shining beacon on the hill of awesome. It's not anymore. But it could be. There are over 1,000 employees of Mozilla Corporation. Over 1,000. And I would wager to say that the vast majority of them are awesome. That the vast majority of them just kick ass. And they love free software. And they love privacy. They love web standards. They love making cool user experiences. They love doing awesome stuff. I bet you there are. Little birdie tells me so. I like that little birdie. But until then, until the executives that are responsible for all of these monstrosities are gotten rid of, and until all of the projects that take away our freedoms, that take away our privacy, our security, our control over our own experience on the web are removed, defunded, and distanced from Mozilla. Until that happens, no trust, no respect, none at all. That's where we're at. I don't see any other way out of this. I truly don't. I could be wrong. I could be. But I truly don't. It would be sad to see Mozilla die. It would be incredibly sad. It would be disruptive to the whole of the industry. It would be disruptive to us as a people in a bad way. But it would be better than continuing the status quo of constant abuse of trust that has happened from Mozilla. So, let's see some resignations. Let's see some firings. Let's see some programs being defunded. Let's see those funds, those hundreds of millions of dollars, put back to good use. Also, wouldn't mind seeing Mozilla offering refunds to the people who donated, to give back those donations to people who want them returned. Because I know a lot of people donated to Mozilla over the last few years. A lot of people. And I know a lot of them are pissed off at what Mozilla is doing. Because it runs contrary to the mission statement, which kind of means Mozilla might be committing a little bit of fraud there. Sorry to say that. So here we are. We have an out. We have a solution. It's a hard solution. The pill is incredibly bitter. But it's a way out. If Mozilla has the guts, I urge you to take it. If you're within Mozilla, do what you can internally. I'm rooting for you.